Hey everyone, Ed40 here with another hardcore Nuzlocke, this time of Omega Loop, selected again by randomization. Hopefully this one is at least a little bit shorter than my last. The home games are always really interesting to me. I started playing the series around when Gen 3 was coming out, so they were a huge part of my childhood. As an adult though, I think the back half just doesn't hold up as well as the front as a playing experience. I don't love the remakes as a whole, but they actually have some of my favorite features in the Dex Nav and Lottie rides. They also have a solid amount of structure, so hopefully that'll keep things in check somewhat. I'm excited for this run though. The Psychic type might be my favorite. Either that or Ground. From Mew, my all-time favorite Pokemon, to absolute weirdos like Bruxish. There's so much diversity. And you can really see that within the game, with 18 catchable lines present, plus a bunch of side captures designed to be post-game. However, not all of these lines are usable for us. Glacia isn't accessible in the game, and Lugia, Deoxys, and Velati won't count because they're legendaries. The Belgium line also isn't available until after the end of the game, and Lunatone is an Alpha Sapphire exclusive. Finally, Chimecho and Meditite are in the same area, and so are Azatu and Girafarig, so I'll only be able to catch one of each set max. This brings the number of usable lines to 9. In addition, Staryu isn't a Psychic type, so I'll have to indirectly train it before it evolves with the Water Stone. I also can't evolve Kadabra into an Alakazam, so that might be somewhat limiting too. There's little room for safety, but it's definitely a far cry from the starting point. I think this will be a run that's hardest in the first half, though, just based on the low level caps and few encounters. But I guess we'll see how it goes. Before we begin, here are the rules of this Nuzlocke. You can only catch the first relevant encounter in each area, meaning a Psychic type or something that evolves into one. I'm playing with a species clause, so if I catch a Pokemon, I can't catch another of that species even if the rules allow it. I can separately catch Pokemon for HM use, but I can't use them in battle. If a Pokemon faints, it's counted as dead and can no longer be used. No items can be used in battle except ones previously attached to a Pokemon. The battle mode must be on set. And finally, there's no leveling past the cap of a gym leader or other boss's ace. If a Pokemon does this, it can no longer be used until that gym is over. And then, with that out of the way, let's begin! I hop out of the cozy van I was stuffed in as I arrive in Hoenn. I meet May and then save Professor Birch from a Poochyena. In the process, I pick Mudkip as my starter. I figure this is the most fair because my potential team will have the most weaknesses against grass. I nickname Mudkip Squib. I head to Oldale Town and this Pokéclerk gives me a ton of potions, and if all goes well, I'll be using most of them very soon. I crush May and then I get my Pokédex. I then head to Route 102 for my first encounter, and after a few minutes of searching, I find it. A level 3 Ralt. I catch it and name it Curly. This one is male, so I have the option of evolving it into a Gallade if I want. It has a neutral hardy nature, which is fine, though it has Trace and I prefer Synchronize. But it's okay. I'm glad I've gotten my actual starter. The next part of the game will probably be the most obnoxious one. Because Ralts doesn't know an attacking move, it can't fight in a conventional way, and because I can't use my Mudkip anymore, I can only use Curly. The only way around this problem is by wasting all the PP of Growl, Curly's one move, so that he can fight by using Struggle. This means I'll only be able to heal Curly through potions, so that he doesn't regain PP. This could get expensive really fast. Fortunately, I only need to get one level up before it learns its next move, thankfully much more chill than the original game where it was 3. But I have to be really careful, because Ralts is really frail in general, and the added struggle damage could knock it out, losing me the run. Because Ralts is so weak, I have to train Curly on level 2 Wurmple, but these actually prove too much for it, as it takes about as much damage as them on average. And so I'm lost, until I realize I actually have another strategy I can try. I just start chucking Pokeballs at Pokemon I encounter. This technically doesn't break my rules because I won't ever use any of these Pokemon in battle. And the added experience from the catches allows me to level up Curly 2 Wurmples and a Zigzagoon later. The Zigzagoon also has pickup, so I'm going to keep that one in my party for HMs. Now that Curly knows Confusion though, we can finally move on. I meet my deadbeat dad in Petalburg. This man uprooted his family to a city he doesn't even spend time in, so you can play a game for children. But I digress. We also meet Wally, who worms his way into getting a Ralt of his own. What a copycat. Somehow he has enough technical prowess to upgrade my Dex Nav, which I'm not using, but it kind of threw me. The next obstacle for this challenge is kind of an odd one. In the woods, a Team Magma Grunt ambushes the scientist, and I have to fight him to get him to stop. But he has a Poochyena, which Curly can't hit yet. Thankfully in the Hoenn remakes, thanks to its secondary typing, Ralts learns Disarming Voice at level 11, so I just have to grind it up a bit first. Once it learns it though, I'm ready for the fight and quickly take his Poochyena out in 2 hits. On Route 104, I realize that there's a double battle coming up, but I obviously don't have enough Pokemon I can use for it. So I decide to go back to the Petalburg Pokemon Center and drop off the Zigzagoon I caught in a box. If I only have one Pokemon, they don't engage, so I get through easily. Once I get to Rustboro, I breeze through the gym trainers and make it to Roxanne. With Curly only a level under the cap, I think I should be fine. But I was so wrong. To be fair, I think this attempt was really unlucky though. I sent Curly in and started setting up double teams, but Geodude just doesn't care and keeps hitting rock tombs. Finally, I set up 4 and didn't think I could do more, so I went for confusion. A second took Geodude down, bringing Curly into the Nose Pass at 10 HP. Nose Pass took it out with 2 tackles though, ending attempt 1 early. Because of this wipe, I had to start over from scratch for attempt 2. Attempt 2 went about the same, but both my Mudkip and Mazetrika were women, which is kind of wild to me because of how rare that is for a starter. Kinda cool. Curly also had an adamant nature this time, which is about the worst it could get. The Roxanne fight is tough because her Pokemon are strong and Ralts is really frail, so I need her to hit 2 Rock Tombs max, which is really tough when Rock Tomb is 95% accurate and my evasion strategy doesn't help a ton. This will be one of the big roadblocks in the challenge. In attempt 3, while looking for Ralts, I encounter and catch a shiny Zigzagoon as an HM Pokemon with Pickup. Awesome! Curly this time has synchronized into Sassy Nature, so plus special defense and minus speed. Not necessarily bad, but could definitely be better. My fight with Roxanne was a little different than the attempts before. Instead of trying to set up double teams, I hit her Geodude with confusion, and she got confused. Curly took a Rock Tomb and went to the yellow, but an Oranberry brought him most of the way back up. Another confusion finished Geodude off. I decided to start setting up on Nose Pass this time and hit 3 double teams. Nose Pass hit a tackle, but otherwise just kept using hard. Then I started going for confusions. On the second one, Nose Pass got confused, but broke through to hit a tackle next turn, but that was about it. Even though Curly couldn't take another hit, Nose Pass either missed or got hurt each try, and Curly took it out with a critical confusion after. That was just awful, so I'm so glad I can finally move on. I help out these 2 dorks and then become an employee of the Devon Corp, in which I have to ship items to people for nowhere near enough pay, but now I'm finally en route to Gym 2. I get to Dewford Town and immediately run over to Granite Cave, where after some searching, I finally find an Abra. I catch it thankfully, because I'd have had to totally reset if I didn't, and I name it Larry. Larry has a jolly nature, which is fairly bad, with minus special attack but plus speed. I'm just happy to have it though, honestly. Now begins one of the real challenges of this run, as well. Leveling up Larry. Abra only knows Teleport, meaning that I'll need to get him up 6 levels without really being able to fight on his own. I could struggle train, but that seems fairly risky. Or I could use the catching strategy, which is a bit cheap, so I'm at a bit of a loss. I decide to switch train Larry until Curly reaches the cap to hold off on my decision. I blow through Brawly's gym trainers, getting Larry to level 14 and Curly to the cap. Ultimately chose struggle training after an hour or so of grinding. Larry evolved into a Kadabra. I was finally ready to take on Brawly, and just as I had honestly anticipated, it was an easy fight. I opened with Curly and took only a Leer from his Machop before taking it out in 3 confusions after he used Super Potion. His Makuhita hit with Sand Attack, and so after confusion, I just used Disarming Voice to take it out for the win. I'm glad I got a brief respite at least. I give Steven his letter, but I'm honestly kinda stunned. How would anyone in modern times know the difference between Primal and regular Groudon? Seems sus to me. In Slateport I find an Alakazite, which I'll never be able to use this run. Thanks for reminding me. I run into a bunch of Team Magma grunts at the museum and am totally embarrassed by the museum's lack of security. I take out 2 of them, which goes easily other than a Numel Flame Burst. After becoming Lizia's protege, because reasons, and spending way too much time competing in Pokemon contests, I finally leave Slateport and head right into everyone's favorite rival battle. On the way to the battle, I find out that Larry has somehow gotten 2 Affection Hearts, meaning his EXP is boosted. This is really bad, because I'm already getting pretty close to the top and I'm gonna need him in the upcoming gym. The main fight was just brutal, there was no way around it. Curly paralyzed her Slugma and took it out, but it brought Curly to the lowest yellow with an Incinerate, destroying his Oranberry. I needed to get a switch, but I just couldn't survive with Larry taking on May's final 2. So I tried to hit the Thunder Wave, but her Wilmer just killed Curly with a Whirlpool. Humiliating. On to attempt 4, I guess. In attempt 4, I made it past Roxanne, but couldn't catch Abra, so I had to reset. In attempt 5, however, I accomplished both, but lost to May. And the same thing happened in attempt 6, but in attempt 7, it finally worked out. This time Curly had a hasty nature, so minus defense and plus speed. Not bad. Larry had a jolly again, weirdly enough. I made it to May, but I was really worried about how I'd do against her. I bought an odd incense in the Slate Market because I didn't really have a solid game plan. I gave it to Larry. I opened up with Larry to start against May's Slugma. He took an Ember, but was able to take him down pretty easily in 2 confusions. Grovyle was next. I used a Thunder Wave on it, but it broke through to miss a pursuit. I hit it with the confusion, and it got confused. This time it was paralyzed and it couldn't attack, but it broke through next turn to hit a Fury Cutter to take Larry to the red. All I needed was for it to not go for quick attack, and it didn't! I used another confusion and took it out. God, that was scary. The final Pokemon May has is Whalmer. Larry can't take it on, but Curly won't be able to do it all on his own. I had to try for a Thunder Wave. It hit, and Whalmer froze up, so I could just switch into Curly without issue. Whalmer hit a Water Gun, bringing Curly to about 2/3 health in the process. I alternated between Double Team and Confusions to set up, with Curly going to 7 HP after another Water Gun, but its Oran Berry activated, bringing it to the yellow. Whalmer hit a Rollout to bring Curly to 6, but another Confusion took it out and finally gave me the win! This was a really hard battle, and I'm so glad it turned out okay. In Mauville City, I run into a guy who gives me a globe, and I just don't understand why he traveled all the way here from another reason and decided to take it with him. Wally and I square off in an epic Ralts v Ralts match, and I take his out in 3 hits. That'll show him. While working on the gym trainers, Curly evolves into Curlia. Now the name makes sense. All that's left is what's probably the hardest gym battle of the run. Watson has 3 Pokemon, 2 of which have the Steel type, which Psychic moves aren't even effective against, and which Curly in particular is weak to. I'll basically only be able to use Larry the entire time. I get an idea though. I pick up the Charge Beam TM and teach him it. My goal is to get Charge Beam to give me as many boosts as possible to turn Kadabra into a sweeper. After a bit of grinding, I'm as ready as I'll get. It's go time. This battle is really scary, so I had to play it super close. I missed my first Charge Beam and Magnemite used Thunder Wave, but Larry's Cherry Berry activated to get him out of paralysis. Then I used Disable because if any of Watson's Pokemon is able to outspeed me with paralysis, I'm toast. I hit my next Charge Beam to get boost 1, and then Magnemite Volt switches to go into Voltorb. Here Voltorb just uses Charge, so I'm able to get 5 boosts with Charge Beam after Watson uses a Super Potion on it. This is about how much I think it'll take to take down Magneton, so I decided not to risk a Charge Volt switch and just go for Side Beam. This lands and KOs Voltorb! Magnemite is back. I decide to risk a Charge Beam and go for a 6 boost, and it works and I take it out as well. And now I'm all charged up headed into Magneton. I just need to take it out in 1 Side Beam. And I do! 3rd badge down! I got really lucky, that battle is terrifying. On Route 111, I encounter a shiny Geodude, my 2nd shiny of the run. Unfortunately, he's not a special Psychic boy, so I have to take him out. On Route 112, we meet Arun, and dude, get some sleep, you look like a walking corpse. I ran into May earlier, and she said we were going to battle next time we met, but I saw her again and she just ran away. Make up your mind! I was starting to get pretty worried as I left Falarbor Town. Larry and Curly were getting really close to the level cap, and I didn't have a good way to stop them. But fortunately, help was on the way. I snaked around until I got to the falls, where I caught a Solrock and named it Mo. Mo has a jolly nature, giving it plus speed and minus special attack. At first I was worried, but then I learned Solrock was more of a physical attacker anyway, so it all worked out really well. I've never really used a Solrock before, so I'm excited. I dropped off Larry and Curly and began training up Mo. It beat the remaining trainers on Route 114 much more easily than I thought it would, but now I was fighting the Team Magma double battle with only 1 Pokemon. This wasn't as awful as you might think though. Mo lost the speed tie with Mightyena, so Mightyena hit Mo and May Slugma with Snarl. Not great, but could have been worse. I retaliated with a Rock Slide that flinched Coughing. Next turn, I won the tie and flinched both with Rock Slide before Slugma finished them off. After a fairly tedious bulldoze spamming against Numel, I finally won out. Team Magma steals a meteorite to do whatever with, but May kidnaps me all the way to Falarbor Town for no reason before I can escape and go back. After maybe too much training, I find myself in the midst of a giant Aqua Magma dogfight. But I'm not interested. All I care about right now is taking on Maxie. The first fight with him is easier than I thought it would be. I opened with Curly and drained his Mightyena. Then his camera got confused, but was still able to hit an Earth Power to take him to around a quarter health, and got the drop. Then I just switched to Mo and it swept the rest of the battle. Maxie just sort of gives me the meteorite he stole for no real reason, but I'm more than happy to just never return it to. I headed to Jagged Pass, and on my first try, I caught a spoink that I named Shemp. Figured out the theme yet? Shemp has a jolly nature, which I'm really not happy about for it, but it'll have to do for now. I make it down the pass, mostly avoiding trainers, and then get to Lava Ridge Town, where I get my 5th encounter, an egg that ultimately hatches into a Why-Not. I name her Ted Healy. Ted has an adamant nature, so plus attack and minus special attack. It's not awful, at least. I train up Shemp and Ted Healy. Along the way, Ted evolves into a beautiful Wobbuffet. I took on almost all the trainers in the Lava Ridge gym, got my team, and then took on Flannery. I led with Mo and took out both her Slugma and Numel in a single hit each. Then her Torkoal flinched from a rock slide, and I ended it with another for the win. Other than Brawly, easiest battle of the run thus far. In the desert, I take the Claw Fossil because I just like Armaldo, and then I watch as the other one sinks into the sand because of reasons. With that done, I take care of what I came here for. I find a Baltoy finally, catch it, and name it Fake Shemp. Fake Shemp has an impish nature, meaning plus defense, minus special attack. That's pretty awful, but I'll have to make do with it, as it's one of the most useful type combos I'll get this game. After actually much more grueling path to my dad and his hack slackings than I thought it'd be, I have to face him. I really don't have a great plan here. His second slacking is just a lot harder for me to exploit than his first, but I have no choice. I come up with something that I think will be workable and just go for it. Fake Shemp uses Toxic on Slacking 1. Norman's Pokemon don't know Facade in these games, so I won't get punished for it. Slacking responds with a Yawn as I'd hoped. Truant renders it incapable of attacking next turn, so I just use Dig, and Fake Shemp's Chesto Berry activates. I attack on Truant turns and let Toxic Damage take it down. Vigoroth is next. I switch Mo in and take it down with 2 Rock Slides. It uses Feint attacks, but only brings Mo down to a third. The final Slacking is up last. I need to switch back to Fake Shemp, but Slacking is so powerful. I need it to not take Fake Shemp out on its first turn, and it doesn't. Fake Shemp survives with 4 HP, and I can start my Dig Strap, but can't risk a Toxic. Norman ultimately uses a Hyper Potion. This disrupts the Truant cycle. So I don't want to lose Fake Shemp. I have to switch. I decide I can sacrifice Ted Healy easiest, so I send her in. But she survives at a little under half, much better than I thought, and this gives me an opportunity. My strategy is down the drain now, so I have to improvise. I send in Larry, get off a Disable, getting rid of Feint attack for now, and blocking Slacking from attacking. Now I use a Thunder Wave followed by Psybeam, which confuses. Somehow I got really lucky in a rough situation, and with that I just whittle Slacking down until it faints. I'm rewarded for this much better than expected win by Curly evolving into Gardevoir. Dad has an existential breakdown after I whooped him, and then we run into Wally, who drags me to Mauville. Everyone really loves kidnapping me, huh? Does he even have badges yet? How can he surf? Anyways, now we've completed the first and strongest half of this game, and it's on to Fortree Gym. Latios begs me for help because it likes my vibe, I guess, and then now I have to save Latios from Team Magma. Courtney says she's deleting, which is super weird, but okay. I forgot I hadn't healed, so it was a little scary when the takedown brought Curly into the red, but I managed well otherwise. Courtney is incapable of not talking like a robot, but at least she leaves. Latios decides to join my team, but I'm not using legendaries for this run, so I just nickname it No Thank You and use it as my flyer. I'm given an awkwardly large Mega Bracelet that I'm never going to use. The Mimic Circle on Route 119 was a challenge with all Bug-type users in the circle. I made it through okay in the end, but it was definitely tricky. You'd think these guys would have better things to do than mimicking a random 10-year-old in the grass. I get confused because this is like the one time Route 119 isn't raining that I've ever seen. So I go to the Weather Institute to see what's up. Fittingly, Team Magma's invaded! While I'm stopping them, Shemp evolves into a Grumpig, which I'm quite happy about. I decide to celebrate with a little nap. And Team Magma is so inept that when I wake up, they're still going. Jeez, what a lame team. Really, Magma and Aqua are bottom of the barrel. I make my way through the Institute and take on Tabitha. I open with Shemp, who hits a Theater Dance and a Psybeam, neither of which has much effect, as Camerupt takes Shemp to the low yellow. I switch Mo in, who's able to tank everything else, and takes Camerupt down with a Bulldoze and 2 Psychics. Tabitha freaks out about Data, and then I'm offered a Cast Form I can't take before moving on. What a thoroughly weird place. Immediately after leaving the Institute, I run into May, who's been so unhelpful so far that I'm beginning to think that she's a Team Magma spy. My fight with her is a long way from the last one. I send out Shemp, who takes out her Slugma in a single power gem. Then Grovyle comes in. I Thunder Wave and then Teeter Dance to give him as many coins to flip as possible, and then just take him out with a couple side beams. Finally, it's just Wailmer. I set up Teeter Dance and Thunder Wave, but Shemp's health is just too low. I switch into Larry, but he takes a crit brine to bring him just under half. This is bad. I go for a Charge Beam, which lands and leaves Wailmer with about a quarter health. I just needed to not use brine, and it hurts itself! Amazing! I hit another Charge Beam for the win. Not the prettiest win, but way easier than last time, for sure. After making it to Fortree City, a guy sniffs me, which isn't exactly the type of introduction to the city that I'd have liked. After exploring a little, however, I see Steven run off, and I decide to follow him. He gives me a brand new headset almost solely designed to see a single Pokemon I can't even catch, and this lets me into the gym. I see Winona just posing to the side to be cool, I guess. I get so distracted by it that I just forget to prep for my battle and lead right into it. My plan was to have Larry sweep before switching to Curly to take out Altaria. This doesn't play out exactly. I fortunately opened with Larry, who started a Charge Beam setup on Winona's Swallow, taking it to a Sliver, but I got the boost. Swallow uses Double Team. Next turn, Winona Hyper Potions and I miss a Charge Beam. I'm worried now, but I go for another and hit, taking it out. Altaria came in next, which I wasn't expecting. I used Thunder Wave to paralyze it first before using a couple more Charge Beams on it, getting 2 boosts, and just taking it under half. The only move it lands is a Roost before a crit Side Beam takes it out. Skirmery comes out next and gets taken down by a single Charge Beam. After doing some Protect Stone, Helper does the same. After not being prepared at all, this fight turned out way better than I thought. Moral of the story is never to fear someone who just stares at the wall all day to look deep. After the gym, I hightail it through Route 120 to get to the Safari Zone, where my next encounter is. So, from my understanding, the rule with Safari Zones is that you can get 1 relevant attempt per area, but in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, encounters work like normal encounters, so I decided I could only get 1 attempt. I had to choose between Girafarig and Xatu. While I prefer Girafarig, it's one of my favorite Pokemon, honestly. Xatu seems like the better choice for this run. Except, my bad understanding of Safari Zone geography led me to encounter a Girafarig. Guess that plan's out the window. I catch him and name him Joe. Joe has a lonely nature, meaning plus attack and minus defense. The defense drop isn't going to be great, but Joe's going to be an amazing mixed attacker as a result. After I finish getting Joe on level, I run to Mount Pyre for my next encounter, and on my first try, I find it. I catch a Meditite and name her Curly Joe. Curly Joe has a quiet nature, so plus special attack and minus speed. Pretty bad considering it also has pure power, but I'm actually excited. Meditite is one of the key Pokemon of the run, and I can't wait to use it. I could have caught a Chimecho here, but this was the clear better option. While I'm training my team up, Fake Shemp evolves into Claydol finally! Shortly thereafter, Curly Joe evolves into a Medicham. It's all coming together now. And right after that, I get a Medichamite that I can't even use, but I'm so happy I barely even mind. My battle with Courtney is fine. Her camera up sets up Curse while I confuse it, and it just takes itself out. I'm given the blue orb because I'm just sort of there again. I make it to Lily Cove and have to fight May. This battle is actually interesting. My team is all around her levels. Larry comes out against her Swallow, who immediately sets up double team as I miss 2 charge beams. Oof. Swallow hits Larry with an aerial ace to take him down to about 60% before he finally hits one. One more turn and he can finally take it out before getting hit to the red. Not how I want to start out, but it's fine. Willard is next. Because I've gotten a couple of boosts, I think I can take it. I use Charge Beam and send it to the red. Not good! I get super lucky though, as it only uses Amnesia, and I can take it out with the Psychic next turn. I can't keep Larry in now, so I send in Joe as my cargo hits him with the critical Lava Plume and gets the burn! That really didn't work. Curly Joe's in next. She takes another Lava Plume, but this one isn't as awful. She uses a high jump kick to one-shot it. Finally, Sceptile's up. I didn't have Mo or Fake Shemp in for this battle, so it could have been a lot scarier. But instead, I used Toxic as Sceptile and Slam, and then switch into Shemp, who takes a couple dual chops before finishing it off with a couple side beams. Not super hard, but harder than I feel like this battle usually is. Guess I need some more training. In Lily Cove, I also see a Team Magma Grunt training Wailmer, which really doesn't seem on brand. I decide to take a nice relaxing detour to see my old friend Captain Stern announce his submarine, only for it to be ruined by Team Magma. Though honestly, I can't really understand what's so newsworthy about a single sub unveiling anyways. I go back to the Magma hideout to get the sub back, but I take a nice nap first. This tragically makes me too late, however, and the submarine has now been upgraded to be doubly weak against water, I guess. I make quick work of Courtney's camera up, and now I'm free to head to Moss Deep. I sped over and immediately got the Super Rod, after which I headed back to Lily Cove for the final proper encounter of the run. A Staryu I caught and named Iggy. I had to! I found it on my first try, which is wild considering the probability is so low. Iggy has a careful nature, plus special defense and minus special attack. This is alongside Illuminate, which raises my wild encounter rate. That's awful, but I can't use Iggy yet. I need an extremely rare water stone first, and I won't be able to do that probably until I get Dive. Back in Moss Deep, we meet a man absolutely fuming about how his sister's boyfriend sends her letters and not him. Sounds like the start of a Shakespearean tragedy to me, if I'm being honest. I couldn't level my Pokemon up too much because the level cap for the final gym is only a level above that of Moss Deep, so I settled for 41. I was pretty anxious about my fight against Liza and Tate as a result. I didn't have great consistent counters for their team, and I was racking my brain for about a full week ahead of time, before I finally realized I didn't need to set up against them at all. I opened my battle with Curly and Joe, and instantly had them use Magical Leaf and Crunch on Solrock, the only Pokemon who could hit my team neutrally and hard. Solrock got taken out before even getting the chance to attack. Lunatone couldn't do anything, and the next turn, I used the same strategy to take it down and get the win. It's honestly embarrassing how much I worried about that fight. I leave the gym and Steven somehow already found out I challenged it through telepathy, I guess. He gives me Dive, which I immediately used to get a blue shard. I traded for a water stone, and now I can evolve Iggy into a Starmie. My roster is more or less complete now. I zip down into the cave and fight my way through Team Magma grunts, ultimately making it to Maxie. I'm able to take out his Mightyena in 2 hits with Iggy before he sends in his Weezing. I wanted to save Iggy for his camera up, so I switched Curly Joe in, only to get immediately brought to 8 HP with an explosion. Ouch, at least Weezing's gone though. Crobat's out, so I send in Mo. Mo gets hit with 2 poison fangs and gets poisoned before I take Crobat out with the Stone Edge. Now it's just camera up. Without really thinking, I just decide to use Earthquake, and immediately freaked out. Mo probably wouldn't be able to take a hit from Mega Camera. I've already resigned myself to losing Mo, but, well, see for yourself, I guess. I got lucky there. Anyways, this dork Maxie awakens Groudon, who looks absolutely ridiculous walking to Pseudopolis. I'm just abandoned by everyone else, so I guess I'll head there myself. I don't need help anyways. Fine. In Pseudopolis, everyone has climate anxiety, and I'm the only one who can fix it. I meet up with my old bud Groudon and fight his primal form. Pigchamp toxics him and gets hit to the right with a lava plume, but can take it out just fine after an extra sensory and an earthquake. And just like that, climate change is solved. I'm feeling great right now. My team just destroyed climate change, and May even said I'm her best friend somehow. Things couldn't be better. Well, okay, let's back up. I decided to start taking on the Pseudopolis gym trainers, thinking that they might be good for some training before Wallace. Along the way, I ran into this trainer with a Golduck. I sent Shemp out and paralyzed it. I started hitting it with Shadow Ball to take it down, but it turned Shemp into a water type. I thought I could take it out after I got a special defense drop, but I made an incredibly dumb miscalculation and Shemp paid the price. Rest in power, Shemp. I'll make sure your death wasn't totally in vain. At least on the bright side though, it took nearly 8 badges for the first death in this attempt. I decided to get a little more training in before I fought Wallace, so I took on New Marville. I remembered it being much more event heavy than it actually was. But no, they just tell you something's going wrong, then you go, show it's fine, and that's it. But I get Thunderbolt out of it anyways. I also decided to go back to Fularbor and teach Curly Joe Fire and Ice Punch. I know Thunder Punch would be useful for the gym, but I don't think I'll need it. After my party hits level 45, I decide to just go for it. Wallace is tough actually. Many of his team members have bulk, and my team doesn't have a lot of super effective moves for them. But here goes. I open with Iggy, who immediately takes his Love Disc out with a Thunderbolt. Whiscash is up next. I decided to just play it safe and switch Curly in, losing about a third of his health to an Earthquake in the process. Actually a lot better than I thought it would be. I use a Miracle Seed boosted Magical Leaf, and it actually crits, taking it out. I don't know if that would have happened without the crit, but I'm not complaining. Milotic is next, so I switch back to Iggy, who takes about 30 damage to a Hydro Pump. I respond by spamming Thunderbolt. We trade Thunderbolt and Hydro Pumps, each doing a quarter to each other, before Wallace heals. I keep trying to get Shell Bell recovery and it's honestly pitiful. I forgot how frustrating it can be sometimes. Anyways, I get Milotic all the way down. Wallace is out of potions, but I'm the low yellow. And I need Hydro Pump not to crit, and it doesn't. I'm able to take Milotic out with a Thunderbolt, but now Iggy's health is way too low. I can take a risk against Celio, but there's no guarantee it'll work. I have to switch. After some thought, I bring in Curly Joe, who loses less health than I thought to a Body Slam. I hit a power-up punch, and the AI gives me a massive present. Celio uses Encore. Now I can just keep boosting instead of risking a high jump kick. I take Celio out next turn, and it's just Seeking. It sets up Raid Dance next turn after I don't take it out, and it outspeeds me to hit just an Aqua Ring. Okay. And so down it goes for the win. God, that AI move was just awful though. I start training my team up a bit for the Elite Four and decide to take on Wally. The footage for this fight is admittedly pretty rough, so I'm really sorry in advance. I lead with Mo against his Altaria and take it out with a single Stone Edge. I thought he'd use Magneton, but he goes for Roselia next. I hit it under half with a Psychic and it responds with Leech Seed. That's not great, but I thought it'd use Petal Blizzard, so I'm happy-ish with the results. Next turn I take it out, and Magneton is up next. I'm a little worried about Flash Cannon, but it doesn't even use it. It goes for Tri-Attack as I hit it sturdy with Earthquake. Next turn I can take it out, and Mo levels up to 48, on par with the rest of my team. Wally sends out Delcatty next. I make a mistake and keep Mo in, taking her out with a Stone Edge. But this means that I have to switch on Gallade. I sort of go unpunished for this in the first turn, as he sets up Sword Dance, but on the second turn now, I need Slash to not take out my extremely frail Curly. And it just barely doesn't. It takes him to 13 health, but now he gets to respond with Moonblast to take Gallade out in a single hit. It was a little scary, but now there's no question of who is a better Ralts user. Copycat. Now the Elite Four is finally open. I leveled my final team up to Drake's Ace at level 55. Now it's time. I get a decisively not dark opening scene before facing Sydney. I open with Curly, for whom Mighty Ina's Intimidate is a non-factor entirely. I use a Calm Mind as Mighty Ina hits a Swagger that gets removed by the Prism Berry that I attached to Curly. I get hit by a Sucker Punch next turn, but after that it's game time. I use Moonblast and take it and his Sharpedo out in one hit each. Shiftry hits a Fake Out, but then I easily sweep the rest of his team. First member down! You'd think the Dark member would be much harder than Wallace, but there you have it. Next was Phoebe. This fight was a little scarier for me, but I had a plan. I opened with Curly again against her Dusclops. I hit it into the red with a Shadow Ball while it used Confuse Ray. Curly's Lumberry activated, so the confusion went away. I messed up here though. I wanted to use Calm Mind anticipating Phoebe would heal, but I clicked Shadow Ball by mistake. My B. I brought it back to the red and then finished it off next turn. I took out both the nets next, same way. Sableye went down to a Moonblast. Finally Dusknoir was out, and I'm scared of this thing now, especially because I didn't Calm Mind. I hit a Shadow Ball and it takes it to around half. Not bad. It responds with a Hex, and wow, yeah, that's not bad at all. One more Shadow Ball and Phoebe's done too. Glacia is next now. This battle was really tough to set up for considering how gimmicky her team is, but after a while I got an idea. I opened with Curly Joe and power-up punched her Glalie. It likes to set up Hail, so I got rid of Ice Punch for Sunny Day, but it just goes for Light Screen. I mean, okay, that works. I finish it off with another power-up punch, and now Frostlass 1 is up. It hits me under half with Shadow Ball, but I take it down with Fire Punch. I can't keep Curly Joe in anymore though. I switch to Joe, who's not affected by Frostlass 2's Ominous Wound. Then I hit a Thunder Wave, freezing it up. I use Crunch, but it doesn't faint. I get the defense drop though, which is awesome. It hits me with Confuse Ray, but Joe's Lumberry activates to take care of it. Now I can just take it out with another Crunch after Glacia full restores. Walrein comes in next, so I paralyze it as it misses a Blizzard, and then switch in Iggy. Iggy gets hit by Blizzard, but no freeze. 2 Thunderbolts later and it's done. Glalie 2 is all that's left. I switch Mo in as it hits Freeze Dry. Lucky. Then after a Protect, I take it down with a single Stone Edge. Way trickier than I'd have liked, but I'm honestly glad it all worked out. And after all that, Drake was super easy actually. I swept his whole team minus Kingdra with Iggy. I hit Kingdra with a Dazzling Gleam that brought it to 2/3 before it hit me with Yawn. Then I just switched to Curly, who also got hit with Yawn for some reason, but just fired off a Moonblast for the win. And now, we've made it to Steven. This 2 suits stitched together wearing champion is terrifying. I spend a while thinking about it, but finally I come up with a plan. I open with Iggy. Skirmy sets up spikes, which I should have expected, but it's fine. I hit with Thunderbolt, and this actually does more than I expect, so Steven uses a full restore next turn. I hit 2 more Thunderbolts though to take it out. Next is Armaldo. This thing can basically take out my whole team if I'm not careful, but I hit it with a Scene Sense boosted Surf for the KO. Amazing! Cradley is next, and I switch Curly Joe in, who gets hit with a Confuse Ray, but a Lumberry takes care of that. I use Fire Punch like an idiot before getting hit with Gengar Drain. So I decide to just go for it and use High Jump Kick, which hits, taking it out. Aggron comes in next, and I'm so dumb I make the exact same set of mistakes, taking it out at 8 HP. Now it's Claydol, and I bring in Mo. I figure this is the one place I shouldn't overthink it, and I just Toxic and stall it out. Unfortunately, it set up Reflect, so I need a sacrifice on Metagross, the Pokemon I'm most afraid of. After thinking about it for a bit, it's gotta be Mo. I click Earthquake and say goodbye as Metagross Mega Evolves and Bullet Punches it to death. Goodbye, Mo. You really were the rock of this run. I'll see myself out. I send Fake Shemp in now. Metagross goes for Giga Impact, which brings Fake Shemp under half. But Fake Shemp's Rocky Helmet hurts it in the process, which I definitely needed given its low attack. I respond with an Earthquake, taking it to around 40%. I get a free attack this turn, but I needed to kill. I hit Earthquake, and it does! I beat Steven! He talks like a complete nerd in his defeat. Well, we finally beat Omega Ruby, and to celebrate, look at how great this team is. Minus Yumo, you shouldn't be alive right now. And now, as the credits roll, I sit back with relief. This challenge started so rough, and now look where we are. Champions. I think of the good times, and watch the stills of my Pokemon defeating the gym leaders. One of my favorite parts of the game, actually. Even though I have no idea how you'd make a Cave of Origin postcard if nobody's allowed in. I really wish they'd brought it back for more games, but Nintendo's gonna Nintendo, I guess. But wait! There's more! At the end of the Gen 3 remakes, your rival challenges you to a battle. So, this fight goes pretty much exactly how you'd expect. I open with Iggy and take out her Swallow with Ice Beam. She sends out Raichu and I switch to Fake Shemp, who hurts it with Rocky Helmet and then takes it out with Earthquake. She sends in Wailord, and I switch back to Iggy and take it down with 2 Thunderbolts. I take down her Magcargo next, and then with the final Ice Beam, I crush her Mega Sceptile once and for all to show her how much better than her I am. And now that I'm finally done, this run was a lot of fun. It was definitely way smoother than last time, which is probably a good thing. Psychic types are great. Even the bad ones, or the ones with bad natures, which I had a lot of this run, are super interesting. Many of these Pokemon I'd used a ton before, but I really liked using Solrock. Pretty much all the physical attackers were just fun little weirdos. The Rustboro and Mauville gyms, plus the second May battle, were all brutal this run. But after getting past those, it really did open up. It was a super fun ride. Anyways, if you liked this video, please feel free to give a like or subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see me do, please feel free to leave a comment, at me on Twitter, or email me your suggestion at ed40plays@gmail.com. And with that, this challenge is a wrap. Catch you all next time.